I'm always the type of person who reads a dozen forum threads, watches a few YouTube unboxings, and then wonders if I'm still going to end up with the same cheap microscope that looks good on paper, but leaves you squinting at a blurry metal surface later. The worst part is the regret that hits you when you finally realize that the budget model can't even hold a small circuit board steady enough for a proper inspection. That's why I wanted to see if the AmScope ME1200T 500X inverted trinocular metallurgical microscope actually feels like a smarter purchase instead of another disappointment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What makes the ME1200T different from the $50-ish kits you see on auction sites is the whole design philosophy behind an inverted trinocular system. In an inverted microscope, the objective lenses sit under the stage instead of above it, so the work area is open and unobstructed. For anyone who spends time looking at large metal samples, solder joints, or even biological tissue that needs to stay flat, that layout saves you the constant dance of trying to fit a bulky tube around a workpiece. The trinocular head adds a third port, meaning you can hook a camera or a video recorder without unplugging the eyepiece. That's a big deal if you need to document a weld fracture for a report or record a step-by-step tutorial for students. I've been using the ME1200T in a small teaching lab for a semester, and the first thing that struck me was how the low-position mechanical stage actually feels. It's not a cheap plastic platform that slides on a felt strip. The stage is metal, finished to resist staining from common chemicals like nitric acid or etchants. When we set up a 2-inch steel sample, the whole piece sits comfortably in the middle of the stage and stays put while we rotate it using the fine adjustment knobs. The knobs have just enough resistance to feel precise without being a workout. In a real-world scenario, that means you can spend more time analyzing grain structure and less time fighting the stage to keep your specimen from drifting. The optical system is marketed as plan, with 4 magnification settings from 50x to 400x. In practice, the 50x setting is perfect for getting a quick overview of a cast part, while the 400x reveals the kind of detail you need when you're checking for microcracks in a fatigue test sample. Because the lenses are designed for a flat field, the edges stay sharp even at the highest power. I tried photographing a copper alloy sample at 200x using a modest DSLR attached to the trinocular port, and the image came out with consistent focus from center to edge, which is something you'll struggle to get on a non-plan system. Now, no product is flawless, and the ME1200T has a couple of hidden trade-offs that show up once you move past the initial wow factor. First, the illumination system relies on a built-in LED ring that sits under the stage. It's bright enough for most metal work, but when you go up to 400x the depth of field gets shallow, and the LED can cast a faint halo around the specimen if the sample isn't perfectly flat. Some users with highly reflective surfaces have to add a diffuser sheet to tame the glare, which is an extra cost and a little extra setup time. Second, the trinocular head, while great for adding a camera, doesn't come with a dedicated camera mount. You need a separate adapter to attach a camera securely, and if you're planning to record long sessions, you'll want a stable mounting solution to avoid any wobble. It's not a deal breaker, but it's something you should budget for if documentation is a core part of your workflow. Who should consider buying this microscope? If you're a metallurgist, a materials science student, a hobbyist who does a lot of soldering and PCB rework, or a small-scale lab that needs to inspect large samples without constantly adjusting the optics, the inverted design will save you time. The trinocular port makes it a natural fit for anyone who needs to share images with a team, write up reports, or create instructional videos. The stage stain-resistant finish also means you won't be constantly scrubbing out etchant residues, which is a practical win for labs that run daily experiments. On the flip side, if you only need a simple microscope for occasional hobby use, say, looking at leaves or basic jewelry inspection, you'll likely be overpaying for features you'll never use. The same goes for people who want a compact, portable system. The ME1200T sits on a sturdy base that takes up a decent footprint, And while it's not massive, it isn't a travel-ready unit either. If you're hunting for a pocket-sized scope to pop into a field kit, this isn't the model for you. Value-wise, the real money saver isn't just the headline 500x magnification. It's the combination of an open work area, a stage that tolerates harsh chemicals, and the ability to capture high-quality images without buying a separate microscope camera. Compared,